Okay, so without further ado, a big round of applause, please, for Yusra Mardini.
Perfect. I'm so happy to be here today. They say you save the best to the last, so I'm really happy to be your last speaker. Yeah, my name is Yusra Mardini. I grew up in Damascus, Syria. At the age of 13 years old, the war started in my country. At the age of 17, I decided to leave my country with my older sister without my parents. Why did I decide to leave? Because it was not safe anymore for me to stay in Syria. It was either we risk our lives every day, living in a war zone, or we risk our life one more time and maybe have a peaceful life. So we decided to take the journey, and the journey took 25 days. We crossed from Syria to Lebanon, to Turkey, to Greece, Macedonia, Serbia, Hungary, Vienna, and then Germany. And when I got to Germany, I had this dream that I had when I was 9 years old, and it was to go to the Olympics. I started swimming when I was 3 years old. My father was my coach, and when I turned 9, I told him I want to go to the Olympics. He said, let's work on it. But unfortunately, it wasn't really possible for me to believe in my dream when the war started. It was, sometimes I would be sitting in school, there would be bomb attack. Sometimes I would be on the way to the swimming pool and my mom would call me and tell me, turn and come back. There is escalation. So life wasn't normal anymore. It wasn't going to school, dreaming, working hard for the things that I wanted. It was just survival. So when we decided to take the journey and then we made it to Germany, I met this incredible coach. He told me, what's your dream? I told him, I'm going to the Olympics. He said, what do you mean you're going? You're saying you're going? And I said, yes, I am. I just don't know how or when. So it is really, really important to know and to be very, very sure about the dreams that you want to chase in your life. So when I got to Germany, I didn't know the language, I didn't know people, I didn't know anything. I had to start from zero. But the only place that I can call home was the pool. You don't need to speak the language to do the sport, right? So when I started swimming again, there was an interview with an International Olympic Committee president where he said we are giving scholarships to refugee athletes all around the world because the number of refugees got up to, or the displaced people around the world got up to 65 million around the world. And I was lucky enough to get the scholarship. And then in 2016, there was the formation of the first ever refugee Olympic team. I was only 18 at the time. And it wasn't even a year after I arrived to Germany. So was I ready? Absolutely not. Was I ready to be called a refugee? Nope. I did not come to terms with the word refugee. I was not proud about it. But when I got selected to become a part of the refugee Olympic team, I realized that sometimes chances come once in a lifetime. So I went with this team, and when I was at the Olympics, the moment I entered the stadium in the opening ceremony, I realized it's not actually about the gold medal anymore. It's about representing the hopes and dreams of millions of refugees around the world. It's about saying, being refugee or being called a refugee, this is a word. I can take it and do whatever I want with it, right? It doesn't hold power over me. It's who I am. I'm still the same person. I'm still Yusra. I still want to go to the Olympics. I still want to achieve all the dreams and ambitions that I have. And then at the age of 19, I was appointed the youngest ever Goodwill Ambassador for UNHCR, which means I get to advocate for refugees all around the world. I get to go to refugee camps. As example, I went to one of the biggest refugee camps in Jordan. It's called Châtaigneraie. I went to Kenya last year, Kakuma. It's the 5th largest refugee camp. So my job is to tell stories of refugees who can't. So then in 2018 as well, I wrote a memoir. It's called Butterfly, about my story, me and my sister. And then we did the swimmers. We signed the deal in 2018. It came out in 2022. And I also went to the Olympics again in 2021. Also for the refugee Olympic team, even though I qualified for Syria, but I didn't want to swim for the regime, so I refused to go with Syria and I went with the refugee Olympic team again. And now, after 10 years of, being away from my home, I visited my country again in March. And it was very emotional because as a refugee, you never imagine to go back to your home. And this year, I'm achieving one of my dreams, and it's to build a school in Syria. So all the work that I've done the past 10 years led me here today. Being a refugee, going through everything that I went through, the journey, the humiliation, the people doubting what I can achieve and what I cannot achieve, it led me to here. And being a refugee is, you're just a normal human being with normal ambitions and normal hopes and dreams. You do not decide to leave your home, you're forced to leave your home because of war and violence. And yeah, I think we can all be kinder to refugees. I mean, the past 10 years, the number of displaced people, according to the UN, went from 65 million people to 122 million. This is a very sad number, but I believe that there are people like me, like you, who want to be educated about refugees, who want to help refugees, who want to be a force for them. So I'm so glad to be here today and to tell you my story. So I'm going to leave a little bit of space for you to ask some questions. So yeah, thank you so much for coming, and I'm very, very happy to be here and talking to you.
All right, thank you so much for being here. So you began your swimming career in Syria under the Syrian Olympic Committee in 2012. However, in 2015, as you said, you fled the country with your sister due to the disastrous civil war. Mm-hmm. What started your passion as a swimmer, and what did it teach you about resilience in different situations?
So I started swimming when I was 3 years old. I didn't have a choice. My whole father's side of the family were swimmers, so I just had to be a swimmer. But slowly I started becoming more competitive. I wanted to swim faster than the other girls, and then I started actually swimming faster than girls that were much older than me. And then I was like, okay, that's it, I'm going. I want to go to the Olympics. I think I watched it on TV. I saw the Athens Olympics in 2004, and I was like, wow, Michael Phelps, I want to go to the Olympics. So what does swimming or sports mean to me in situations that are difficult? I think sport is really important. I call it free therapy. Why? Because you get to be angry when you're doing sport. You get to process a lot of emotions. You get to move your body and process whatever's going on during the day. And then when you go out from let's say swimming pool, it feels like you're fine, right? So yeah, for me, as I said, it was home away from home. And it gave me the confidence and it gave me the motivation to continue living and to continue thriving. And sport teaches you values and so many things that you can actually also have in your life, which is as example, patience. You learn how to be very patient with people around you. You learn how to trust the process. You learn how to fail and then try again. You learn how to be kind to people around you. Swimming is not a team sport, but you need a whole team to succeed. You cannot train on your own, and this is how life is. When you're building your company, you can do it on your own, but without the whole team, you won't succeed, right? So yeah, I think sport is very, very important, and everyone should definitely do sports.
Thank you. And so moving on to later, when you started your journey, as you said, you went from Lebanon to Turkey, and then you boarded a smuggler's boat to reach Greece. So in the trailer scene, you saw that basically the motor of your boat broke down, yeah. And so the dinghy could no longer support the 18 passengers that were on it. And so you, your sister, and 2 other people who were able to swim jumped out of the boat and into the water, and you swam alongside the boat, pushing it for over 3 hours, mm-hmm. Until you reached the island of Lesbos in Greece. And then obviously your journey didn't end till you had gotten all the way to Germany. Mm-hmm. So what kept you going throughout this long journey, and how did your relationship with your sister affect your mindset and goals when you fled your home?
Um, yeah, I actually get asked this question a lot, and I think what kept me going is human instinct to survive. It was a tough journey, and we knew before we left Syria that it's going to be a very difficult journey. We knew that we won't be able to trust a lot of people. We won't be able to be safe all the time. We knew that we're going to sleep outside. So for me, what gave me faith and the motivation to continue is that I didn't have any other choice. That I needed to survive. I needed to do. I needed to stay strong physically, mentally. I think I was a child. I was 17 years old, and I think as a child, I was so strong that the whole journey I did not even cry once, and that's not healthy. Like that's me trying to, get it together and like reach to safety. And one thing that really helps me a lot is my older sister, as you said. She is someone that, since I was very young, she would wear a hoodie, I would wear the same. She would start speaking English, I would start speaking English. Whatever she did, I wanted to be better than her at. I think this is just a sibling thing. So for me, I saw her like stand and jump overboard to help others, and I was like, I can do it. And then I jumped from the other side, and she was yelling at me. Because she was scared. I'm like her little sister. So for me, like knowing that I can rely on my sister was something that helped me a lot. And if you watch the movie, you can see how my family raised us. Like my dad specifically, he gave us a lot of trust, and he knew that we're tough enough to take on this journey. Otherwise, my parents would have not accepted it. But it was definitely very difficult, and I'm glad we made it. Yeah.
Thank you. And so then on arrival to Germany, you were able to find a coach, Sven Krebs, who trained you for the Olympics. And so what was this experience of living in a new environment and also of being trained by possibly someone with different coaching techniques as your past coach, his coaches in Syria?
Yeah, so talking to Sven, he was actually very kind. Like immediately when I met him, he was like, what is your dream? And I was like, I want to go to the Olympics. He didn't question it. He didn't even question it. He was like, let's work for it. Let's do it. And I really love that about him. And he and the swimming club made my experience in Germany really incredible. They made me feel like I have a family away from home. My parents weren't in Germany yet. So what was different about the coaching techniques is that in Syria, you don't really talk about mental health. You just keep pushing. So you're sad, you cry it out, and you try again. In Germany, they ask you every 2 seconds, are you okay? So my brain was like, am I okay? Like, is everything fine? So Sven was like someone that would tell me like, train, but have fun, do this, like don't be too hard on yourself. And I'll be like, what do you mean? I have a goal, I need to reach, I need to do this. So for me, I was like used to one mentality. And then a very kind coach came around. I was like, I don't think this is gonna work out. I was like, I love you as a human being, as a friend, but as a coach, I think I need someone else. So yeah, I trained with him until after 2016 Olympics, but then I switched coaches because I love him as a friend, but not as a coach.
Thank you. And so then in 2017, after your first Olympics Games, you became the youngest Goodwill Ambassador for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. You've also founded the Yusra Mardini Foundation in 2023 to support sports and education for refugees. Why was this first milestone significant or important to you when you joined the United Nations?
It was very important for me because the story got famous, and I wanted to use my platform and my voice to advocate for people like me. I knew that I was very lucky and privileged to be able to tell my story because there are so many refugees around the world who either don't want to ever talk about their experience again, or who can't. They don't feel like they have a safe space to talk about it. They don't feel like people would believe them. So telling the story, me and my sister, when we decided to tell the story, we told it because we knew we're advocating and we're telling the stories of millions of refugees around the world, no matter where the refugee is from. So yeah, founding the Yusra Mardini Foundation and working with the UNHCR go hand in hand. Why? Because the Yusra Mardini Foundation focuses on helping refugees through education and sports. Because my mom always pushed for education, my dad pushed for sports, and that was the perfect balance for me to become who I am today. So for me, it is my dream to give refugees access to education and sports, and that's why we launched the foundation. And we have projects in Greece, we have projects in Germany, in Canada, and now building the school in Syria, hopefully. So yeah, it's just incredible. The way I think about it is, if you can, why not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. And so, looking more into your work with refugees, what have been your favorite moments around the world, like when you visited the Kakuma refugee camp and the Kelobea integrated settlement in northern Kenya?
My favorite moments from the Kenya trip is how positive and kind and welcoming refugees were. Even though the conditions of where they live is very, very harsh. Like, I saw the tents they live in, I saw the conditions. I was shocked, and I was very sad. But a girl came up to me and she told me, "Yeah, I am in the football club." I was like, "Oh, that's amazing." And then I study film, so we went to the production club, and then she was there too. And I was like, "What are you doing here?" She's like, "I'm in the production club." And then after that, she's like, "Yeah, I work a job as well." And I was like, "Wow, that's incredible." And then she said, "Yeah." She said, "I don't want to be like my parents." And then I was like, "What do you mean?" She was like, "They just gave up." And I was like, "Oh, that's sad. I'm sorry about that." And then she was like, "No, I learned from my mom. I now help her. And I want to get educated. I want to become strong. I want to, build a life for myself." And it was just so inspiring to me to see that, like, in the worst conditions, still there is hope. And there is, like, this human instinct to thrive and to get places and to dream. And I think it's really, really important to think about that when we go back home, we do have a home, we have food on the table, we have access to social media, we have access to everything in life. So this is a privilege, right? To be able to chase your dream, this is a privilege, to get an education. So yeah, that was one of the best moments that I had.
Yeah. So after your swimming career in 2022, you then moved to Los Angeles to study cinema and visual arts at the University of Southern California. So what inspired you to study in this sector, which is obviously completely different from swimming, and what new passion or lessons has it brought to you since you started?
My family is very creative. Like, in general, we love entertainment. And for me, I actually wanted to act since I was young, but swimming was more important for me. So I realized that the film industry lacks people that tell stories like mine, right? Sometimes I'm watching like something about refugees, and the person that's telling the story is very kind, of course, very talented, but it's not coming from someone who actually lived the experience. So and I don't know if you guys have seen like what women filmmakers did in Cannes, where they stood, it's 80 women only filmmakers, and that's very sad. So I want to be a voice in the filmmaking industry for women and for stories like mine. I want to tell stories about refugees, and I do not want to put the gray color over everything that we tell. Whenever there's a story about the Middle East or there's a story about refugees, it's always very heavy, very sad. And I think the swimmers broke that boundary. It shows that even in the toughest moments, you can smile, you can laugh, you can have fun. So yeah, for me, it's about changing the perception of how people see, storytelling.
Yeah, thank you. And so my final question for you today would be, if you could share one important message to the young athletes and students in the room, what would that be?
Okay, so first of all, in sports or in life, do not think realistic. Don't think about a realistic goal. Think and dream of the biggest thing you can have in life. The bigger you aim, the better. Why? Because when you think about a big goal, about a big dream, your mind and your heart, they're listening. If you say you can't, your heart and your mind will believe it. If you say you can, again, your mind and your heart will believe it. So always believe in your dreams and ambitions and follow them. And when something difficult happens in life, don't give up, but also don't force it. Take 2 steps back, and then maybe, because you took 2 steps back, you can move 6 steps ahead. It's not always about pushing further, right? Sometimes it's about getting out of the frame, getting out of the picture, and doing another sport. Go and, I don't know, play football for 2 hours, and then go back to the swimming pool, as example, if you're a swimmer. But never, ever, ever settle, and do not listen to people who wanna make your dreams smaller. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Hi, so I love that you talked about how as an athlete you should have hope, you should always dream big. But I've met a lot of athletes, a lot of people who you talked about mental health and how that can bring pressure on people. I don't think everybody has similar experiences such as your case, but I think that it's a bit hard for some people to stand up from pressure from not just their families, not just their friends, but also themselves.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, what could these people do for themselves? Because I've seen a lot of people just lose that hope or that spark to continue, and that can be scary. I just want to know what you could do for yourself.
I think the most important thing is to take it step by step. Do not compare your process, your progress to anyone else. You are your own person, right? And what I can process in a day, you might need 15 days to process. So you can't we can't all have the same process in life. I think each and every one of you needs to understand that. Sometimes a situation happens and you think that was very annoying, but the other person is fine with it, right? That's how life works. You need to get to know yourself better, and you need to learn what are the things that can make me feel better. Sometimes it's a walk, sometimes it's ice cream, sometimes it's just closing the door and not talking to anybody, So you need to be selfish with yourself sometimes and say, hey, just give me time. Hey, I can't come today. I'm not going out. I'm not doing that. That's okay. Set boundaries and give yourself time to learn about yourself, because this is the most important thing. Because if you're not okay, the people around you as well are getting hurt, So it is actually a priority for you to learn about yourself and learn, okay, sports as example, is it helping me? Am I happy doing this sport? I know so many professional athletes who get to a point where they're like, they never go to the pool again when they're done with their careers. Why? Because they work their whole life to go to the Olympics and then they don't qualify. This is very harsh. This is very frustrating, because this is like 20 years of your life, and it is the love of your life. So that's something that you need to process for years. And I'm one of these people. I achieved my dream, but I have this big gap in my life where I'm like, I miss swimming, but I don't want to go back to competitive swimming, So it's a very complicated process where you and yourself have to sit down and figure things out and figure what's good for you and what not, and take it step by step. Talk to people you trust. Sometimes talking to someone who's completely out of your circle can be very helpful. And also therapy. I've done therapy, and it's incredible in my opinion. Yeah.
What do you want to see change for young talented refugees?
And?
Training and education.
So I'm gonna repeat the question just we're clear. So what do I want to see change for young talented refugees? Okay. I want to see them. I want to see them a part of the community. I want to see them with the other kids, playing, dreaming, hoping, and I want them to know that them being refugees doesn't make any difference. They're normal, and that being a refugee makes you stronger because you have an experience, you lived an experience that is tough, but you're still here today, dreaming and trying to be the best person you can be. So I just want to tell them that I'm very proud of them, and I know that they're going to achieve their hopes and dreams, and I'm here to support them.
There's another question down there at the front, just 1 second.
Are asylum seekers also provided the same opportunities within the Olympics?
Oh, yeah. So basically, the International Olympic Committee created a program. And this program is for asylum seekers, refugees. It's basically for people that don't even have papers. So there are so many refugees that are scholarship holders, but not all of them make it to the Olympics. Let's say in the beginning, in the first year, there were 37 people that were scholarship holders, but 10 of them went to the Olympics. It's becoming very competitive as well. The refugee Olympic team just won their first medal in Paris 2024. It was Cindy Winner-Gamba. She is a boxer. She won a bronze medal. And then in the Paralympics also they won medals. So this team is becoming very strong, and I think more than 100 people around the world hold scholarships, and they are trying to expand it. They're trying to support in the best way possible, and they have the Olympic Refuge Foundation that is supporting them. My foundation is supporting with resettling refugee athletes in Canada. So the goal of this team, of having the Refugee Olympic team, is one, for refugee athletes to not lose the chance of competing on a high level and winning medals. And then two, they don't want you to be a refugee forever. They want to help you get the citizenship. They want to help you to be a part of the community and get your papers and passports. So you're allowed to be on this team for two terms, basically. Yeah.
How did the decision to go separate between parents affect your relationship with them? Affect you?
Like us leaving?
Separate times.
Yeah, you know what? It changed the dynamic. We kind of became their parents, if that makes sense. So when we left, I remember my mom was very, very sad. She was obviously very scared. I remember she was crying for a whole week. It was scary. Like, it was her two daughters living on their own. She didn't know if she will ever see us again. Same for my father. I think they had faith in us, but it's definitely very scary to say to your child, go risk your life. So yeah, I think they told me something that was very heartbreaking. My dad told us that after 1 hour of us being on the boat, because we couldn't contact them, they thought that we lost our lives. And imagine a parent thinking that about their kids. That was really heartbreaking for me to hear. But then when they got to Germany, we got to help them. It was difficult for them to learn German. It was difficult for them to start working because they also needed confidence, right? Like they didn't know anything. They had like their whole life built in Syria, and now they had to start from zero at the age of 45. That's very difficult. Like they still struggle until now. So the dynamic shifted, and now they cannot tell me not to go out because I can just simply say, I crossed a lot of countries without you, you know? But no, I really love them, and I'm really glad that they trusted us and they raised us the way they did. Yeah. Thank you.
So I'm going to bring it back to Syria.
Yeah.
Over the past 50 years of the Assad regime, Syria lost a lot of its green power and professional force. Right?
Yeah.
And now the situation is changing.
Yes.
Okay. How are you going to reintegrate, or do you think people will return One, and if they will, you work so hard on integrating these refugees in their new homes, how are you going to reintegrate them back home,
Yeah.
Syria? And realistically, with the opportunities they have abroad, do you see similar opportunities created in the future in Syria?
I wish I was the president, but I'm not. So I don't know how we're gonna reintegrate it. But I can tell you from my experience and from the work that I do, yes, a lot of Syrians want to return to Syria. 500,000 people already returned to Syria since the fall of the regime. Yeah, the other part of the question for me, as example, I know that I have a responsibility of rebuilding my country, of helping Syrians who couldn't leave Syria, who did not have the same chances and opportunities like I had. And I think there are a lot of Syrians all around the world that want to help. They just don't know how. So for me, I had this idea of why not talk to governments. As example, Germany. Germany, if they lose the Syrian doctors, they will have a problem in the medical system, which is sad but incredible for me to hear. That means we have a lot of qualified people all around the world. So for me, the idea would be, hey, would you want to volunteer and go back with me to do this mission in Syria? And I'm hoping after they do this mission, they want to do more. So as example, now in July, I'm returning to Syria on a medical mission. Who am I returning with? It's called Syrian American Doctors Society. So exactly, so it is people, Syrian doctors that lived in America their whole lives, but they want to give back. It's their home in the end. And I think it is a responsibility and a duty for any Syrian who lived abroad to think, how can we help and rebuild our country? Because it is our country in the end. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be simple, but I think there are a lot of countries that are willing to help, and I think Germany is one of them. And if we build relationships with, good political relationships with other countries, I think it's very possible for our country to become very, very good again. I have hope.
Hi, so obviously the film is really well made and it's very emotional. But I was wondering if there are any parts that you wish were told maybe differently or things that didn't make it in the film that you think are important to share?
There's one bit that I hate so much. There's a part where I'm saying about my sister, oh, she's a superhero, and I'm playing with my hair. I hate it. I'm like, that's not me. I'm like, that's not my personality. I probably would have like slapped my sister with a joke. You know, that's just how I am. But yeah, I didn't love that part. But speaking more seriously, I think the film was really, really well made, and I think they did an incredible job portraying, refugees, portraying this story. I thought when I watched my personality, I was like, I'm just I wasn't that focused on swimming. I wasn't that close-minded. And then my mom was like, yeah, you were. She was like, you didn't see anything but the pool. I was like, And then she was like, yeah. You know, when you're young and you love a t-shirt and then you grow out of it and you're like, ew. She's like, that's personality too. And I was like, oh, I see. So no, there isn't anything that I would like change. I think they did an incredible job, to be honest, yeah. Maybe I would, one thing I would change is that I would act in it, but I couldn't because I was preparing for my second Olympic Games. But, we're actually making a documentary that's gonna come out maybe in a year or two. That's actually, I'm in it, my sister's in it, and we filmed the return to Syria. So if you cried about the swimmers, prepare for this.
Hi, have you kept in contact with other refugees that you met on your journey to Germany?
Yeah. I mean, most of the people that were with us on the way went to either Sweden or Germany. And even if I'm not in touch with them by the phone or anything, I just see their Facebook. I see if they're good, and all of them made it safely, and they were fine. Yeah.
Question here.
Do you know what we can do in our daily lives to support refugees?
Yeah, I think what you can do to support refugees is one, educate yourself about refugees and about the situations, about what's happening in the world. And then second, the simplest act of kindness goes a long way. Sometimes like I remember, as example, arriving in Vienna, there were so many people that were waiting for us refugees and just, you know, giving us water. And that was incredible. Like, that's something that I will never forget. And then I think you can volunteer if you have the time to volunteer. There are incredible foundations that you can donate to. And then, yeah, in the end, I think doing all of these things and understanding what a refugee is and why do they leave their countries, I think it's really, really important to show them solidarity and show them that we're here for them. Yeah.
Okay. With that, a big round of applause, please. And Yusra Mardini.